Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the USC Trojan on Fan Nation podcast. I'm your host, Jacob Hare, excited to be joined by my co-host, Jacob Erlbaum. Today, we have a lot to unpack as USC has been pretty hot recently, winning some awards, getting some hot players. And Jacob, let's break it down right now. What does Caleb Williams winning the Heisman do for USC as a program going forward?
It just adds to the hype that's already there for next season. You have a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback coming back. There's the hype around him potentially repeating as Heisman Trophy winner. And then just this team that was on the cusp of getting to the college football playoff this season. They were a win away. They were so close. And it just adds to the excitement about possibly reaching the college football playoff next season with the Heisman Trophy winning quarterback at the helm, running the offense, running the show, being the face of this program. And I think for USC, there's just so much to be excited about with that and sort of just saying, you know what, this season we're so close, we almost got there. Next season's a revenge tour. Let's go back. Let's get there. We have the Heisman Trophy winning quarterback in the building, back on our team. And not only him repeating that, but this team overall, which is the main focus, getting to the playoff.
Well, I just think this sets up the story perfectly for next season. Caleb Williams played in that Pac-12 championship game. The second half, he was obviously hurt. He had the hurt hamstring. And look, this was a team that was 4-8 last year before they hired Coach Riley and brought in Caleb Williams. So expectations when you brought in these two guys were sky high, and they did nothing but exceed them. Caleb had a season that's comparable to Matt Leinart and Carson Palmer in the early 2000s. And this is obvious, but I'm going to have to say it. Number 13 is going to be retired at the Coliseum when Caleb's done with his USC career. And you talk about it. This is just a team that there's so much to look forward to for next year. You have a Heisman Trophy quarterback coming back. You have Coach Riley, who just won the AP Coach of the Year. And look, it's recruiting day. It's signing day. And let's talk about that for a little bit. You got the number one overall recruit, making it the fourth time that USC's signed the number one overall recruit in the high school player recruiting era. Malachi Nelson, he'll sit next year. But Coach Riley's just building a quarterback factory. And you like to see it that these are guys that are going to come in. And look, he's not going to be there right away, Malachi Nelson, but I'm excited for this kid. I watched a little bit of tape on him, and he can really sling the ball. So next year is going to be huge, but let's stick with Caleb. Next year, do you see a repeat as Heisman?
Yeah, I want to take a pause before we get into all the transfer stuff in next season. I just want to say we send our condolences to Mike Leach's family and friends. Obviously, we had him on the podcast a little over a month ago. Great guy, always great getting the chance to talk with him, and really just sad and heartbroken by the situation.
Yeah, and let me just add something about Coach Leach. When Jacob and I decided to start this podcast, obviously it's about USC and college football, but there's really no one who embodied the sport more of college football than Coach Leach. So when we had this podcast in mind, he was really the first guy that we both said that we wanted to come on the show, and he was gracious enough to grant us his time. And honestly, you couldn't ask for a better guy than Coach Lee. He was funny. He was caring. He checked in on Jacob and I a few times because we built a little bit of a relationship with him over the years, and really just a one-of-a-kind guy, and he'll deeply be missed by the college football world. And my thoughts and prayer with his family during this difficult time. And there's no one who had anything bad to say about that guy. He was just truly he was a kind soul. So rest in peace to Coach Leach.
Yeah, really just heartbroken by the situation, and a great guy, always great to talk to. We had the chance to interview him a couple of times, and I think always dedicated his time to us. Always did a great job on our show. Always had a lot to say. Was always into it, excited, and just great man to talk to. And really, just the sport of college football as a whole is getting a big loss with his death, and we're just heartbroken by it. And we send his condolences to all his family and friends.
Yeah, for
But
sure. And I saw on Twitter the other day that he was 3 wins away from being eligible for the College Football Hall of Fame. But look, when you think about college football, you can't tell the story. The Hall of Fame is in every sport is a place where you're supposed to be able to tell the story of the sport, of how it progressed. And you can't tell the story of college football without including Coach Mike Leach. He truly was someone who embodied the sport. He was a figure that would always be at the face of the sport. He always had something to say. So I'd like the college football playoff to make an exception. I'm requesting this, and I think all college football fans across the world are requesting this, to put Mike Leach in the Hall of Fame. Make an exception. Do the right thing, committee.
Absolutely. Coach Leach definitely belongs in the College Football Hall of Fame. A great coach, a great man, a great person. He definitely belongs there. And just moving off of that now, back to our conversation about Caleb Williams and possibly repeating as Heisman Trophy winner next season. I think it hasn't been done in a long time. I think it would be really cool to see it happen, but that's not the focus for this team because if Caleb Williams isn't even half of what he is next year, obviously that's dramatic, but this team gets to the college football playoff, it's a successful season. And that obviously isn't going to happen if he is half of what he is next year. But we know Caleb Williams, he's a superstar in this sport. He's going to have a great year again next season and possibly repeat as Heisman Trophy winner. And I think it's very possible. I could easily see it happening, but that's not the focus. The focus is this team getting to the college football playoff and surpassing and doing what they weren't able to do this season, what they came close to doing. So I think definitely a possibility, but that's not the main focus for this team. And I know Caleb Williams isn't worried about winning a Heisman Trophy. He obviously said it in his speech. He said, "It's nice I'm up here on this stage," but he pointed to the other three finalists and said, "You guys get to play in the college football playoff," which is obviously true. So for Caleb, it would be great if he could win it again next year, but that's not this team's focus, and I know that's not Caleb's focus.
Absolutely, 100% agree. And look, Caleb's a team first guy. You already see he's recruiting guys to come over. Jordan Addison's obviously going to leave for the draft this season. And USC already has got a number one receiver for next season, as we have big news as USC picked up Arizona transfer wide receiver Dorian Singer, who led the Pac-12 in receiving yards, and he'll replace Addison with his deep threat ability. And I think this is just a monster pickup, and it's going to be hard to get as big a pickup for this as Dorian Singer. And look, I saw it firsthand. You saw it firsthand. Dorian Singer torched USC this season. He had 141 yards and 3 touchdowns against the Trojans when the Wildcats faced USC at the Coliseum. So this is really a guy that's a playmaker, and he's gonna be able to get his he's gonna be able to have the ball in his hands to make a big play in big situations. And USC also got 2 other transfers from Arizona. They got 4-star defensive lineman Keon Bars, who committed via the transfer portal, and Christian Ronald Wallace, who was a starter for Arizona last year on defense and really contributed to that shaky Wildcats defense, but he was a lone bright spot. So these are 3 guys who are going to make an immediate impact, and it's time to just keep going at the transfer portal. I mean, 3 guys is good, but it's a good start. You're really going to have to build on linebacker, and Shane Lee's coming back for another season, which is big news. And you're going to have to go out, get some linebackers. You're going to have to get some cornerbacks. I know today we signed Tackett Curtis, who's going to be a great inside linebacker, but not this season. He's a guy who needs to sit and develop. So I'm happy. So what are you seeing from the transfer portal that you like?
I mean, yeah. Did you mention? I'm sorry if I missed it. You mentioned Mason Cobb, who was all Big 12 second team.
It's another big transfer. No, I left that
That's
one
a linebacker.
I was
I
going
think
Wildcat heavy.
we've talked about it every week. I mean, the potential of getting defensive players via the transfer portal. We've said it that this defense has not been good enough all season, and we've talked about how the offense improved dramatically last season because of the transfer portal. Obviously, with additions like Caleb Williams, like Travis Dye, like Jordan Addison. Obviously, I think those were all huge. And now we have to talk about, hey, this offense is good. They have their quarterback back. They can add some pieces, but they're going to be really good again next year. Let's focus on the defense. Let's go to the transfer portal. And that's exactly what they've done so far. You talked about the players from Arizona, Mason Cobb from Oklahoma State, who is second team all Big 12, a really good linebacker who has the potential to go play in the NFL. I think the defense is looking good already, and hopefully there's more transfers to come, and hopefully this team can get this defense turned around next season and ready to go.
I mean, you talk about Mason Cobb, and as you know, I'm a big film guy. I like to watch film, see what the player shows on tape, and this is what I really saw from Mason Cobb. I mean, he reminds me of Eric Kendricks on the Vikings. He's a fantastic tackler. I mean, he's limited in height, but he's decent length, and he's really, really, really good at forcing the ball out. I mean, this is a guy who's going to force some fumbles next year, and he's really good against the run, and that's what USC was missing, a guy who's against the run and a linebacker who can force the ball out. We had corners and safeties who can pick off the ball, but I think Cobb has potential to be our best defensive player next year. I mean, I know it's crazy to say, and there's so much more to do in the transfer portal, but Cobb is a guy that I really like, and that was a monster pickup for USC. And Lincoln Riley's just being a little kid in a candy shop right now with the transfer portal. And one more thing I'd like to add is last week, Tony Grimes, who was one of the best corners, not just in his conference, the ACC, as he's going to transfer from UNC, he was one of the best corners in the entire country. I mean, this is a guy who's a shutdown corner. Reminds me of Sauce Gardner for the Jets, who's having a fantastic year. He has great athleticism, technique, and physicality, and that's a corner USC hasn't had in a long time. I don't think we've had a guy like that since Adoree Jackson, so that would be another big pickup for USC.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the transfers are coming. Kids want to play here, and hopefully, they continue to get some more players because this defense is already starting to shape up and look pretty good. Um, and yeah, I mean, there's so much excitement for next year. The transfers, the 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 Heisman Trophy, obviously for Caleb Williams, and just the fact that they were so close to the playoff this year and have the potential to get back next year, and sort of all the excitement, all the hype, sort of at a revenge tour and getting to the playoff finally after falling just short. So there's a lot to be excited about for next season, and this season's not done yet. There's still a bowl game to be played, the Cotton Bowl. No shame in getting there and having a big a big regular season for USC, and if they could cap it off with a win in the Cotton Bowl, that'd be pretty nice too.
Yeah, and absolutely. And I mean, we can't control what happens in the transfer portal, but we do know some things that happened on signing day today. As I said earlier, it's one of my favorite days in all of college football. I mean, Mateo Ugalele committed to Oregon over USC, and this was a Southern Cal kid. His brother DJ struggled at Clemson. Now he's in the transfer portal, so that would have been a monster pickup. But there's still hope for USC to get the top tight end in the 2023 class, Deuce Robinson. I mean, Deuce is 6'5", 225 pounds, and getting Deuce would just be more significant on the field. I mean, this would be the play that shows you are the team that gets the top West Coast prospects. You are the team where the kids on the West Coast, whether you're in California, Oregon, Nevada, Arizona, whatever it is on the West Coast, you're the school that kids want to go to. It's just plain and simple. There's nothing else you could say. It's just, I think Caleb winning Heisman also has cultural significance, as this is now USC has its swagger back. USC is the team where it's going to be branded. I've talked about this so many times that USC, Miami, Texas, they're more than just schools. They're brands in college football. So I just think this is the season that brought USC back. And you talked about it earlier, no shame in going to the Cotton Bowl. Absolutely no shame. College football playoff was a pipe dream at one point, and it became realistic at the end of the year, but you didn't really see it. It was hard to beat Utah. I didn't think that they were going to be able to, but you hit it right on the nail that going to the Cotton Bowl is something that's definitely you should be happy about and keeping your head up high and not frowning on it. But next week we'll have our preview of Tulane USC in the Cotton Bowl. But thank you again for joining us. I'm your host, Jacob Hare, joined by my co-host, Jacob Erlbaum, and we'll see you next week. Fight on.